Hi children, Mrs Jones here. Just thought I'd read you a nice story whilst we're off school still. I've chose today Mr Tickle in a Tangle. I used to love reading these books when I was younger. Right, here we go. Now, who does that extraordinary long arm belong to? Of course, it's Mr Tickle. And Mr Tickle's long arms come in very handy. They can reach kites that are caught in trees. They can answer the phone when Mr Tickle is lying in the bath. But most importantly, they are splendidly perfect for tickling people around corners, tickling people through upstairs windows, and even tickling people on the other side of their letterboxes. However, there are days when those extraordinarily long arms are not so handy. Days when they are nothing but a nuisance. Days like last Monday. Mr Tickle was lying in bed eating his breakfast when he heard his garden gate open. It was Mr Stamp, the postman. Quick as a flash, Mr Tickle sent one of his long arms down the stairs to tickle Mr Stamp. Or that is what he intended to do, but somehow or another his arm got tangled up in the banisters. Poor Mr Tickle. It took him an hour to untangle his arm. The letter that Mr Stamp had delivered was an invitation for Mr Uppity, and it was for lunch at the Grand Hotel. Mr Tickle took the bus to town and he sat on the upper deck of the bus. Mr Tickle sent one of his long arms down the stairs to tickle the bus driver, but somehow or another the ticket inspector trod on his arm. "Ouch!" cried Mr Tickle. Mr Tickle arrived at the Grand Hotel and he rushed through the revolving doors. Or rather he tried to, but somehow or another his arms got caught in the door. The fire brigade had to be called out to untangle his arms, by which time he had missed his lunch. Poor Mr Tickle. No lunch, and even worse, no tickles. Oh, he looks very sad. It was a very sad Mr Tickle who set off for home. Suddenly he heard something. He stopped. Somebody was approaching from around the corner. Mr Tickle smiled to himself and he sent both of his arms around the corner to tickle that somebody. But that somebody was little Miss Naughty, and she tied those extraordinarily long arms together in a knot. When he got home, Mr Tickle fell back into his armchair. Oh, what a terrible day! Not one tickle. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. It was little Miss Tiny. Mr Tickle stretched out one of his long, extraordinary arms. Well, one tickle was better than none, he said to himself, even if it was only a tiny tickle. I hope you enjoyed that story, children, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye!